The R.M.S. Titanic, a historical humans production. What comes to your mind when you hear the name Titanic? Some people may go to James Cameron's 1997 hit blockbuster film Titanic. Others would think of the unsinkable ship, the largest ocean liner of its era. However, to those aboard the Titanic, what they would think is grandeur, elegance, or, for its third-class passengers, a new start, a fresh beginning in a country that is bustling with potential. As we are quickly approaching the 111th anniversary of the Titanic's demise, we here at Historical Humans thought it would be the perfect moment to look back at one of history's greatest shipwrecks. The R.M.S. Titanic gets its name from the Titans of Greek mythology. The ship was commissioned by the White Star Line, the company that owned and eventually operated the ship. The builders were Harland and Wolff, based out of Belfast, Ireland. The order was placed on September 17, 1908, and was completed by April 2, 1912. This ship was the second of three Olympic-class ocean liners, the others being the Olympic, built in 1911, and Britannic, built in 1914, and similarly sunk in 1916. However, they collided with a mine. They were built to be the most luxurious passenger ships at the time, giving their owners a competitive advantage in the cross-Atlantic routes. The Titanic was a staggering 882 feet and 9 inches long, or 28.19 meters, and her height measured from keel to the bridge was 104 feet or 32 meters. The Titanic was equipped with three main engines, each of which had a corresponding smokestack, although one was there purely for aesthetic purposes. The ship was cutting edge though. She and her sister ships had 16 watertight compartments that could seal off in the event of an emergency. Her rudder was a whopping 78 feet 8 inches high and 15 feet long, weighing alone over 100 tons. Although she was built as primarily a passenger vessel, the Titanic carried a significant amount of cargo. Her designation as R.M.S. or Royal Mail Ship denoted that it served as an official carrier of Royal Mail. There was even an onboard post office. Most cargo on the ship was fairly mundane, and despite popular myths, there were no exotic jewels or gold lost in the sinking. In fact, the most expensive piece of cargo that was lost was a painting, La Circassienne au Ban, by French artist Marie-Joseph Blondel, which at the time was valued at $100,000, or equivalent to about $2.1 million in today's currency. The lifeboats, though, is where the story of Titanic becomes a tragedy. Titanic carried a total of 20 lifeboats, 14 standard wooden lifeboats, and 4 collapsible lifeboats, with a capacity of 47 people each. The Titanic had capacity to carry up to 64 wooden lifeboats, which would have given them a capacity of nearly 4,000 people, more than that of the ship's capacity. Alas, White Star Line decided that they only needed 16 wooden lifeboats and the 4 collapsible boats, giving them a whopping 1,178 person capacity, about a third of the ship's total capacity. Titanic's maiden voyage began on Wednesday, April 10, 1912, embarking from Southampton, making stops at Cherbourg and Queenstown before eventually planning on arriving in New York at Pier 59 on the morning of April 17th. After a few days of clear weather and uneventful sailing, on April 14th, Captain Robert Smith received a series of warnings from ships near Newfoundland talking about ice drifts. It was not uncommon to ignore warnings, but to keep a vigilant eye on the lookouts to spot icebergs. When, at 11:40 p.m. on April 14th, lookout Frederick Fleet spotted an iceberg, but it was a little too late. First Officer William Murdoch ordered the ship to be steered around the obstacle and engines to be reversed, but it was too late. The ship made contact and scraped alongside the iceberg when 5 of the watertight compartments filled with water. Eventually, evacuation began to happen, which, if things weren't bad enough, the crew had little training on. They quickly realized that they would not have enough lifeboats and enacted a women and children first policy. The crew were unsure how much they can load the lifeboats up, so most boats were filled to a capacity of around 60%. By 2:20 a.m., the ship had fully sunk. The R.M.S. Carpathia arrived on the scene around 4 a.m., picking up the stranded passengers. The journey back to New York was a slow, arduous one, filled with storms and large ice fields. The story of Titanic isn't over there. In the 1980s, a deep-sea expedition managed to locate the wreckage of the Titanic, and the Titanic came back into popular culture with a vengeance. Stories from the Titanic and images of the wreckage brought back the story to the mainstream. This eventually led to the 1997 film. And if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to subscribe. Thank you.